go with part 3. So let's get back to project files. What does a project file do? So this APRX file, we took a look at what it looks like when you open it. You've got your map window, you've got a couple panes, you've got the ribbon. A project file provides an interface with spatial data. So you could say an interface for working with spatial data. But it doesn't actually hold the data, so it does not contain spatial data. And this is important because oftentimes students will think, all right, I've got this great project I've been working on. I want to show it to my instructor. I'm going to send my instructor the APRX file. But here's the thing. When you send me your APRX file and I open it up, I'm not going to see anything on the map. And that's because the APRX file, the project file, doesn't hold the spatial data. So let's say you created a project and it's got all of Spokane's fire stations as well as point locations for hydrants, so that the city can keep track of when hydrants have been checked and serviced and that sort of thing, right? And you put some really cool symbols on there, and you make it super easy to read, and you add some labels, and you're excited to show me, and you send me your APRX file. I'll open it, and I won't see any of the fire stations. I won't see any of the hydrants, and that's because the data is not in your APRX file. What's in your APRX file is references to the data. So let's see, it does not contain spatial data, but has the file paths to get to that data. So your project basically goes out and it goes through your computer and it follows the file path that's indicated, and it puts the data that you ask it to on the map based on what you tell it to do. And it'll continue to make more sense as we get farther in. I feel like this first day or two is kind of the hardest to explain. But your APRX file contains file paths, but it does not have the spatial data. Never send me an APRX file, and don't send anyone else an APRX file. You have to send either a PDF that has your finished product, and that's great. That's what you turn in for class. Or if you need to work with someone else on something, you're going to compress the project along with the data that you used in it. The APRX file does not contain the data, but it just gives you an interface for working with it. And yeah, that's how it goes. So the next question is, what should I select at the startup pane? So let's take a look at what the startup pane looks like. We'll open it up on our own later, but this is what the startup pane is going to look like. So we opened, to just begin our journey, we opened an APRX file that was already created. But if you're just going from scratch, you'd open the program, ArcGIS Pro, and you would get this startup pane. And in the startup pane, you're going to have a few different options. That's what we're going to talk about right now, and then we're going to set up some defaults for ourselves. So let's see. You're going to create a new map, that's this option here. If you're ready to add and symbolize data to create a new two-dimensional layout, so a standard map, if you're ready to just kind of get to work and you've got some data, and you're ready to dive right into a project. If you're only planning to manage files or open a new catalog, oh, I forgot to add a space here for you to fill in. If you're only planning to manage files, open a new catalog, just mess around for a little bit, but you're not really ready to start your project, start without a template. Okay, so start without a template here. I'm going to go ahead and take a minute and circle that. So if I should write in cursive, huh? If just messing around. Can you even read cursive? Round. Can I write cursive? Okay. if you're just messing around, start without a template. That way you won't create a whole project and all the files associated with it, which we'll kind of talk about what those will be in a minute. But start without a template unless you're ready to really go with your project. Oh, maybe I could have, yeah. But just messing around. Start without a template. Okay. All right. Global scenes and local scenes are for if you're working with if you're working with 3D data. So come on. Scenes are used, so that's either global or local. Scenes are used for three-dimensional work. They're going to be beyond the scope of what we're doing in this introductory course. So yeah. So what you should select at startup, for the most part, you're going to start with a map. If you're just, I'll circle this one too. If you're just, if managing files. You're going to start with the catalog. But usually you'll start with a map. So when you're ready to go. Okay. Must have hit quick key. But when you're ready to go, you're going to start with the map there. Okay. So every time you create a new project, ArcGIS Pro is going to build the following, and that's why we just use a template if we're not actually ready to start a project, because every time you create a new project, you're going to create all of these ancillary files that are associated with it. So every time you create a new project, ArcGIS Pro is going to build a default folder, and this will have the same, I don't know what I'm hitting, but it's not letting me just type things in. Default folder. Has the same name as your project. Okay. Contains the APRX file. The default. We'll look at the default geodatabase in a minute. The default ATBX toolbox, and that's pretty much it. It's also going to often, we already kind of looked at this once, but it's also going to usually have, if you import data or import things, it'll have an import log, and it may have default saves there. So that's the default folder. All right. The default geodatabase also has the same name as your project. Any layers you create through analysis will by default be saved here. Okay? So when you start to run processing tools, they're going to go into your default geodatabase. This is set as your home geodatabase by default. And so by home, we mean everything automatically gets saved there. And then your default toolbox, we're not going to work much with these, but this is if you build custom models and tools to work with a project, they'll be saved here. And this introductory class, we're not going heavy into analysis, so we're not going to be worrying about the default toolbox, but just know that .atbx is going to be your default toolbox, and you'll see that in your folder. So if you want to, if you just want to check something out, take a quick look at data, move something around in your files, etc., use Start Without a Template. That's this one. This will avoid clogging up your storage with a bunch of folders titled My Project. So you know that you aren't managing your files well if you see a bunch of folders titled My Project 1, My Project 2, My Project 3, because that My Project is just the default name if you don't actually take the time to name your project. So you can also sign into ArcGIS Online from the startup page, so you can easily share maps you make online or add layers to your map from ArcGIS Online. So I'm going to take a minute here. So this is the map that we just started working with. I'm going to go ahead and save this, and I'm going to close it. And then I want you come along with me, and we're just going to open up ArcGIS Pro. Now, something went wrong with my install when IT installed the latest version of Pro on my machine, and it operates just fine, but it doesn't have its normal icon. This is ArcGIS Pro for me. It just looks like a blank sheet of paper. You will have a special map icon here. But I'm going to open it from there. If you don't find it there, that's fine. You can go here and you can search for ArcGIS Pro, and that'll show up on your machine. So this is what the app will look like. I have mine docked. It just looks like a blank sheet of paper, but you can open it by clicking on your Windows button here and searching for the application right there. So that's where you'll get Pro from. I don't want to open it again. So here we are at the startup pane, and you pause me till you get there, but a couple things I want to point out to you. So if we're going to start without a template, if we don't want to create a bunch of extra folders that we're not going to use eventually, this is when we're ready to start a project. This is if we're going to manage some files. What you will see here, or what you won't see, is I've got a list of my most recently opened projects here. And so you'll see this list if you've recently opened projects. Super convenient, but you know what? You should also know where your files are saved. So you know, just relying on this to get to your projects is it can be dangerous if you don't know where you've actually saved them. But what I wanted to point out for me, I've got my C users, Marilyn Nielsen, and that's where OneDrive is located. It's under your user, my user. You'll also have one there, and there's my OneDrive, and then that's the folder that I created. All right, and then there's GIS Basics Section 2 map, and here's where it is. What was I going to show you here? Oh, I was going to show you here you can sign into ArcGIS Online. So you should have given me your Bigfoot email, and I should have responded by sending you an invitation to join ArcGIS Online for our school, and that's going to give you access to data that you wouldn't otherwise have. And so you can sign in here with your sign-in information for ArcGIS Online, and that's going to let you download data sets that have been saved online through ArcGIS Online. Super useful. It's kind of quick and lazy, easy way to search for features you might want on your map. So I'm going to enter my own username. This isn't yours, right? Oops, except I'm going to get my capitalization right. And then my own password. You'll have your own. And then I'm going to sign in so that I'm signed in, and yours should also indicate that you're part of Spokane Community College. You'll be able to do some things that you can't do with an individual account. So wanted to show you that. You'll sign into the startup pane. What else did I want to show you? Oh, we want to start to talk about when you create a new project, where is it saved? So your APRX is actually automatically saved to a default location. My default location, if I didn't reset it, is all the way Spokane Community College Employee Files Users M, Marilyn Nielsen Documents, ArcGIS Projects, and that is long and it's a pain to find, but that is, if I don't do anything, the program is going to save my projects there, and I'll have to dig into those folders and find them, right? And so that storage is actually only located on my machine, so I can't get to that through OneDrive. It's not on a thumb drive. And so I want you to take a minute and find out where your default location is. And I can actually show you here. If you go to settings and you go to options, then your, let's see, general, how did I put it? Okay, it's under general and create projects. So, and your default location is going to be indicated here. And so what we're going to do is we want to make sure that that we can choose where we want to save our projects. And we can do that one of two ways. We can either say new projects are saved in a custom location, and in that case, every time we create a new project, we'll tell it where we want it to be saved. And so that's an option, right? Another option is to have new projects saved in a default location, and we can indicate that location here. So the idea is that you want to be in control of where your projects are saved. You can either do that by choosing where they're saved every time you make them, or you can tell GIS where you want to save them. And so I'm not sure why that's normally we're gonna plug it in there. Oh, you know what? That's kind of fun. Okay, so this is an update with 3.1.2, which is useful. Sorry, I just stumbled on this, and that is the default location is just going to be the default location. So it's going to be this long, drawn out. It's going to basically go to the users of your computer, your name, documents, ArcGIS, and projects, and so that's just going to be the default. But for you here, when you choose new projects are saved in a custom location, then you can paste your folder in. They used to just have one option to paste in here. Now you got the radio buttons. So we are going to actually set our projects up to be saved in a custom location. You're going to save them in the folder for this class, because that's going to make a lot of sense, isn't it? So I'm going to save mine in the demonstration files. And so basically what we need is we need the file path for our folder for this class. My folder for this class is called GIS Basics Demonstration Files. To get that file path, we can just click once on the relative file path, and then we get the actual file path. So it wasn't always like that. This has changed over time. Windows 11, even Windows 10 was a little bit different. But basically you click once in the address bar here, and it's going to give you the file path. You can also hit the drop-down menu, and that's going to do the same thing for you. But what you want to do is you want to highlight that, right? And then you can hit Control-C to copy it, and you're going to paste it over here, and you're going to say, hey, I want you to save my projects to my folder for the class, all right? And we don't really need to change any of these other elements in here, because the new, we still want to create a default geodatabase for every project that comes up, and a new default toolbox is also just fine. So we're going to hit home folder does not exist, really. Okay, let me troubleshoot that, and I'll be right back. Okay, sorry about that. I just had to click one more time, and it saved that. So now if we look at my my options here, so I can go to my settings and my options and general, and it's in create projects, and my new projects are saved in a custom location here on OneDrive, because that's where I'm saving my stuff, and I've got it in my GIS Basics demonstrations. So alright, so we wanted to do that. We just set up a default storage location. So what next? So you would paste the address for your default location here. That's mine. And then the question is, where should I save projects? We already talked this through in the first video of this section. And how can I save new projects to a location of my choice? Yeah, that's what we just did. And paste the file path to the folder you created here. Okay, let's do that. So my folder, my GIS Basics demonstration folder, is going to be right here. So I'm going to copy that, just like I just did. So now I have it forever in my notes. That's the file path for the folder I created for this class. And then you're going to make this the default storage location as follows, which we just did. Okay, so we just walked through this piece. And we pasted our location right there. All right. Okay, so I think that's a great stopping point. We will pick up and talk about different types of spatial data next.